All love vibrations. Tsulufalo Bungani Khatebe here, author of The Art of the Love Vibration, and we are exploring the levels of love. So, when I was depressed, right, and I didn't want to be on earth anymore in my early 20s, I just realized that, okay, I was feeding myself a lot of the flesh, feeding myself a lot of the third dimension, drinking, partying, those typical stuff. But I had to realize that the person I am, I'm the man who can't live on bread alone, because I had to discover that same thing that Jesus was preaching, that you are a soul, you are an infinite soul and spirit. And I wasn't feeling that part of myself. So me wanting to die was me yearning for the rebirth, into who I became and who I'm becoming, So from that understanding, I understand that I'm a healer, and that the life I live is about manifesting. Even as an artist, it's actually about getting into that place of prayer, that place of meditation, that place of dreams, the subconscious, and pulling from that place and manifesting and bringing it into life. And even my work as an artist was actually just training for who I am as a healer. So when we're talking about the levels of love, and why I was telling that entire story is because through that story I realized that to live a fulfilled life, you need to have love on all levels. The work you do, your circle of friends, there needs to be an element of love in it, and that's passion and purpose, and a sense of belonging, So now, when I decided to speak about the levels of love, I realized, okay, maybe let me speak about it from the position of the chakra system, because at the end of the day, we all move by energy, and you can be a Christian or a Muslim, but at the end of the day, you still experience this energy in different ways, like sexual energy, the creative energy, the creative force that brought us all here, that creates the universe, that flows through our spirit. You also know the feeling of stability, of being rooted and grounded, like the root chakra there by your knees and your feet, And now the ultimate pursuit in realizing Christ consciousness is to have an alignment from your root chakra, from your knees to your sacral chakra, which is your sensuality, sexuality, creativity, your solar plexus, your heart chakra, your throat chakra. These all have fancy Sanskrit names. Your throat chakra, your third eye chakra, and your crown chakra. Now I'm also learning as I teach, and I guess that's the purpose. Every time you teach, you really have to dig into yourself and let the voice speak. Clear your mind and let the messenger deliver to you. So I'm just actually doing my due diligence by sharing the message and sharing what can be known as forbidden knowledge. And when Jesus said, "Be wise as serpents," he was talking about that alignment, because the serpent is reflecting, the spirit of your waters, the reptilian mind, the spine, which is like a snake, and it moves like a snake, the vertebrae, and aligning those vertebrae, from a physical standpoint and also from a spiritual standpoint, and aligning your energies opens the path of Christendom, So that's the journey that we're on. Today we're talking about the solar plexus, and I'm excited about talking about the solar plexus because I'm an intellectual first. Before I'm a spiritualist, before I mastered my sense of spirituality, before I even mastered my emotional intelligence, I was an intellect that needs facts, that needs understanding, that needs frameworks. You know what I'm saying? So, I would even intellectualize my feelings. Like, I struggle to cry unless I see what is crying going to help me with, But, we get past things like that. That's another topic for another day. And I don't want to say proof, I needed understanding and comprehension in order to really sink myself into the belief. That's why I've I have a more of an affinity for the omnipotence of God and finding God in everything. Even though I started from Christianity, I found God in Buddhism. I found God in these chakra systems. I found God in my relationship with my ancestors. Because I understand that if we're talking about God, we're talking about a power that has power on all fronts. There isn't a weak point. God can walk in hell like it's his own banquet. You know what I'm saying? And command there, and now the solar plexus, it at least proved to me that, oh, this is what they're talking about, So I've had a powerful solar plexus energy since I was a child. And my relationship with hip hop is actually what really empowered my relationship with the solar plexus. Because every time I'm listening to these bars, I'm feeling them here. And it's some of these things are inevitable truths we all know. When they say trust your gut, they're talking about that power in the solar plexus, that intuition that the solar plexus has. You know what I'm saying? And every time I'm listening to rap, where I built my confidence, I would listen to lines like, one of the lines that changed my life was when Ludacris said, "It ain't the hand that you dealt, it's how you playing your cards, boy." So now, when you're a young black boy, there's so many different ways where you're an underdog, even amongst each other, Ranyatsana, you know what I'm saying? But when I listened to hip hop, it gave me the confidence I have today, because I realized it's not the hand that you dealt, it's how you're playing your cards. And I've played my cards well. But I don't think if I didn't have that solar plexus intuition of just trusting in myself, I wouldn't be here, So when I learned that's an energy center, I'm like, dude, I've had a relationship with that energy center since I was a child. So I know what you're talking about, And to just give more context on the solar plexus, it's where you feel good and feel like you can conquer the world. It's what develops a strong sense of self. So that's why I have that feeling, that relationship with it, where your individuality is, where it's formed, it's there in that gut place, But now when it's imbalanced, or it's not healthy, you have a sense of insecurity, self-doubt, and a lack of direction. Another thing about trust your gut that we actually need to be very consciously aware of is that if you're eating fake food, you can't trust your gut. You've already put lies into your gut. It's not getting real nutrition, because, amen, the Most High is abundant. All these things have information that we call vitamins that are there to inform us to be more prepared for the world that we're living in, So now if you're not feeding it actual nutrients, it's not really tapping into the real information that the sun bestowed upon us by giving color to all these fruits. You know what I'm saying? So in order for you to trust your gut, you need to respect your gut and respect yourself by eating well. And I know that that's not particularly easy for everyone, because your diet, it goes all the way back to your upbringing. You know what I'm saying? And that's where generational wealth plays a role. And so many of us are reclaiming our generational wealth, and it doesn't only start in the bank, because wealth don't buy health. So you can be as rich as you want to be, but if you're dead, you're dead. You know what I mean? So health is wealth. Watch out for your legacy by eating well. And it is also where the intellect, the ego, the willpower, and the aggression comes from. See, so I can relate to those feelings. I can understand, especially it's almost like it's where our masculine energy sits. And when I say masculine energy, some people always associate masculine and feminine with male and female. That's a part of it, but that's not everything. These things are about how the energy moves. Like the way an energy moves, the way an atom vibrates is what determines its masculinity or femininity. Masculinity is very, like you can see, a man's body is very it's very structured. Intellect is also very structured, but there's no straight lines. These structures are man-made. They are the rulers we use to try and understand the world. because nothing that's natural and in nature is straight. Everything is more curvaceous and more nuanced. You understand? The straight lines is what we use them. It's what we use to understand. The math is a tool, that we use to understand the phenomena of life. That's the intellect. So it's very powerful, but a tool is only as powerful as you wield it. But it becomes a weakness when the use of the tool, it's like now you're praising the tool itself. You're not using it as a tool anymore. Do you understand? So it's like a calculator is only as great as what you're calculating. It's not the calculator itself. If you're not using a cell phone to connect with people, you failed. Now you're just addicted to this loop, and then you feel depressed, and then you feel all these negative feelings that come with the cell phone addiction that we are currently in. I'm not going to divorce myself from it. I'm just going to try and make light of every darkness is there to be transmuted. It's fuel. So if we know it's okay, we have this relationship with this technology, let's use this technology for light, like this conversation that we're having right now, because humans are inevitably going to be on TikTok or going to inevitably be on YouTube. So let us empower each other with the information that can still create a better sense of humanity. So it's still very third dimensional. So now when we're talking about love at all levels, the goal is for us to rise our energies, to take our energies even from our sexual energy, right, and use it to manifest and rise it all the way to our crown chakra, which is our most elevated state, which is our most divine, most honest expression. And when I say honest, I mean who you were before you adapted to the ways of the world, who you'd be if you weren't living in the survival mode and scared that if you show your true light, such and such will happen to you. You know that? So your truth is that, and the test and the courage that we're supposed to find in our gut is have the guts to be yourself. Have the guts and have the faith that actually whatever you lose is what you're sacrificing on the cross for greater spiritual transcendence. So I think that's, when I can think about it on some freestyle-ish, I really feel like that's the purpose of the courage that we have. Have courage to be who God made you to be. Have courage and have that sense of individuality to know that in this greater ecosystem of what God has created, I've been created a certain way for a certain reason. And I need to have the courage and the understanding of self to be that. So the love and happiness that we feel in our hearts actually originates in this third chakra, that is the heart chakra, but with a strong sense of self within the power, the sense of self. This is like the power center. The solar plexus is the power center of our physical system, and that means that nurturing a nature of humility is the challenge that comes with the solar plexus, and that's where being grounded comes in. So even though this is where you focus on yourself and you understand yourself, you need to have the humility to understand that this self that you are understanding is meant to be of service to the greater whole of humanity. Now, why is that important? Like, happy people are people who are of service. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of the greatest people we know that are celebrated. Like, celebrity is only worthwhile because you've actually done great service to humanity. And sometimes you don't need celebrity to commit service, to feel that feeling of transcendence. Like, we don't know who designed the stop sign, but I know that as a designer, that person died with a sense of peace, knowing that he served greater humanity, feeling a sense of self-esteem. So that's also what we should always be constantly chasing. So when a person becomes more and more powerful, their pride, their intolerance, and anger also grow. Very relatable challenges. And that's the challenge at hand with the solar plexus. Is that power that you feel here, it's raw power. It's pride, and once you master it, once you get that six-pack, that physical or spiritual six-pack, it's about understanding that actually This part is the power center meant to balance everything, And if I'm balanced here, I will love better. I will speak better. I will see more and I will be inspired. But if you stay here, then you stay on the third dimension. Then you stay on the flesh level. Time is not on the side of the flesh. You want to tap into the infinite. You want to tap into the infinite power, infinite source, and that is the ultimate test. So even though a solar plexus-centered person grows, they may grow to serve their older needs, their lower order needs. So if you stay stuck here, that means that you can only go down. You start serving, your sexual depravities. You start serving your survival needs, and I think honestly, man, actually, when I look at it, the average accomplished person ends here. Like they rise to the occasion. They found stability. They've survived. Like they've got money. They've got roof over their heads, shelter. Their sexual sacred needs. They've manifested themselves gancane, not on a higher component level, but on a primal level where I can reproduce and I can attract people who will reproduce with me and I can please myself. And then kijamonate, I'm eating nice, I'm living nice, and I got status, and I think, the average accomplished person ends here. I think their transcendence comes here. Next week's chat, in the Tlizio. In the Tlizio, where it's like, have you understood what love God has put in your heart? What love has put in Tlizweni yakho? In order for you to give that to the world, because when you give your love, you're giving it back to yourself, because you've actually recognized your divine contribution on earth. And there's nothing more fulfilling than that. I can tell you that I've done things that made me more money. And that definitely, made me feel here. But here, like, that's the favorite version of me. That's the version I feel the most pride in. That's the version that, okay, when my stomach loses all that food, and things fluctuate, I can never forget who that person is. That person who has that connection to the Most High. There's nothing on earth that could ever shake that person, because he's transcended earth and now he's just playing his part and contributing on earth. You know what I'm saying? So you are still not giving love at the stomach point. You are loving yourself, and it hasn't extended to the heart chakra when you are in your solar plexus. You could still be using people to accumulate your power for prestige and seek relationships within that dynamic. So fuel, the gas tank, the gasol, the petrol. Petrol is only as good as the destination, and the destination is here in the Intlizio, And we're gonna like, everybody has this doubt of love from everything we've experienced, because everybody is still on the lower order level. And I think a lot of people, their faith, and when I say faith, I mean their belief system, what they believe in is all the things that they see, Whereas I'm a creator, so I always knew that just because something doesn't exist doesn't mean I can't make it exist. This cell phone didn't exist at some point, and then Steve Jobs had some shrooms, went to India, studied the chakra system, went on a whole hippie level and conceptualized this company called Apple. You understand? And the products that are the foundation of what Apple is. Because I think an important thing for me to say is that our greatest creations are God's imitation. A camera is imitating an eye. The eye cloud is imitating the cloud or the higher consciousness of your ancestors. You understand? Of God. Like the unseen cloud where all the information of your bloodline lies. So that is what Steve Jobs ended up understanding, that let me just make this tablet, because the greatest creation I could ever make is really Even now with the AI, they're just imitating the brain. They're trying to imitate the consciousness and the spirit. When they're trying to make a robot, like when they're feeling like, yo, I'm at the peak of humans, I am imitating God by creating a human being, which is God's greatest creation. You understand? So with that being said, all love, thank you so much for being with me. I almost didn't record this, had a quietly eventful day. But I'm glad that we made it here, and I'm glad that we had a unique experience together. Ngiyabonga. Thokoza.